such a personal treat for me when either one of these two amazing ladies get up and speak. And the fact that we got both of them is absolutely awesome.
We scored.
Reverend Mary Garry, you know, it's, you know, she always, to me, it's just, I look at her and I think Mary Margaret.
Yeah.
She's like that girl back when I was in Catholic school. She was the one who was always sitting like slightly off to the side, and you knew that she was going to do something. You just never knew what, but you know, even the sisters would kind of like, all right, go ahead, start, I'm waiting. And yet still had the courage to do it anyway. You know, there's a light that shines in her eyes that is so amazing, and I know part of the fuel of that is her amazing husband, Tom. They accent each other. A frequency happens when the two of them sit together. It's just so cool. And our wonderful Reverend Dr. Janet Childs. She giggles when people say that. That's okay, Jan. When I graduated chiropractic college, if somebody called me doctor, it's like, well, doctor, and I go, my sons told me I needed to stop that. It just doesn't look professional. But that's okay, because when Janet giggles, that also lights up a room. Her smile, her humility, and you know, it just really lets people relax around her, because she incorporates such love of life. And for someone who deals so much with transition, so much with supporting people going through death, that even in that, even surrounded by that, she's the eye of the storm. And she creates a field of life energy that truly embodies the phrase, love never dies. So without further ado, Reverend Mary Garry and Reverend Dr. Janet Childs.
I don't know how that's going to work. You just go over here and talk.
Yeah. Take a mic, grab a mic.
I know about the mic.
No, you've been here before.
You know about me. You know about me. So you know what's going to happen before we talk. And that is, we have to sing a little together. Because the energy never comes in to me without coming in on the flow of music. And this song is one that came to me a long time ago, and is part of what happened. So Janet, you have to help me, and Ronnie said you'd help me. I need one other person. Okay,
Yes,
Annie, come
yes.
on up. Okay.
Kat and Annie.
Okay. What the heck?
Let's bring them on
So
up.
the goal is we're going to sing this song. We sing it first from up here so you have a sense of it. And then we walk among you and sing to you. Because we love you. Because we want your energy. Because you want your energy to connect to what's going on in this room. So that's what we're going to do. And it won't take very long.
How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Thank you. A little complicated there for a minute. Okay,
You held the dismount.
looks a little strange up here with these chairs. It seemed like a good idea when we thought of it. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here. We've been working together, Janet and I, for almost 40 years. Not every day, the world couldn't take that, but off and on for 40 years we've done seminars together and classes together and talked together and loved the hell out of each other. And this, what we're going to talk about today, first started in Vespers. Janet and I led the Vespers last night. And, well, I hope you're all right over there. Are you all right?
I'll be okay.
When we led the Vespers last month, we were inspired to get information about what we could do to be whole and functioning in troubled times. And, you know, we've had some troubled times, have we not?
We sure have.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have one more to add to the list. There's been a shooting in Baton Rouge this morning. So we need to send energy.
Policemen, right?
Yes, yeah, 2 police officers have died, and apparently 1 other was shot, and there are 7 other injured people.
So, you know, this has got to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, my bias, I have an inherent bias. Besides the fact that I spent painful years in the South and saw how some people are still trapped in some pretty ugly places. But I had that, and that is the black side, which is so painful. But I also have the blue side. My brother was a policeman before he passed. My nephew was a policeman before he was disabled. My uncle was a policeman. So I see black and blue. And what I see for this country, if we don't get a handle on this and fill it with love, is that this whole country is going to be bruised black and blue. Everybody is going to be touched by it. People start to polarize. We mustn't polarize around it. We must heal it. And who has the greatest responsibility to heal it? Ooh, the hair standing on my arm. The people who understand energy. The people who understand love. The people who work to make that manifest in their lives, they have the first responsibility. It may not be fair. You may come from personal experiences that make you say, this is bullshit, I've had enough experience on this side, I know what it's like. And there are people who say, my family was in this business, they gave their lives, they went out every day and we never knew if they'd come home. There's a right on every side. Life is probably not so full of right and wrongs as we think. And in this circumstance, it is not full of right and wrongs, it is full of pain, bad decisions, and a few distorted people acting independently, whether they be blue or black. to make their message visible. Well, we have to make our message visible. And first we have to make it visible in our hearts. Because if we don't, if we can't, who can? Who can do it? If it's not people who have a community that loves them, if it's not people who believe in a God that's loving and forgiving and exists in all forms, faces, or androgynies, is that what people both, yeah. Thanks, Jen. Okay. If we can't do it, who can do it? So let's do it. Let's do it. And one of the things that came to me in the midst of a follow-on to my message and the things that Janet and I came, as I was at a healing group. As many of you know, I belong to Dr. Jellish, the president of our church, offers healing groups to train healers, and I am a member of the First San Jose group. And he works with us, and it's been personally very good for me to get you in touch with yourself, with your own energy centers, how to understand what's going on in your energy centers so that you can activate healing in the energy centers of other people. And, you know, it's like the old stuff, you can't fix the world till you fix yourself.
That's right.
If you don't love yourself, it's pretty hard to love anybody else. So, we work on that. And this night, I got a message, and it talked about healing energy being available to us through our energy meridians. And that if we came from an Eastern culture, we'd have been raised understanding about energy meridians. That's how the Chinese lived safely without Western medicine for thousands of years. Is energy meridians are able to be activated to allow you to reinforce and activate your own self-healing potential. We have self-healing potential. We know that in this room. I look out into this room and find healers. Healers who have been doing wonderful work. We have it all. We have, this room is full of people who love you, people who care about you, people who know how to heal you, people who will work with you. So let's use that. Let's consciously, what the message said to me, it's all written down much better than I'm saying it, but too bad.
Here it is.
I'll give it to you later if you want. But what they said to me was, this planet is a permission-based planet. We are surrounded by healing. But they don't just come in and heal us. We were sent here to learn our lessons. And part of the lesson is if you want to have an intervention from a God source, if you want to have healing activated in a very specific way, then you have to ask in a very specific way. You can't just say, oh God, heal me. He says, oh, okay, Mayor. Good luck. Now what I say when I go to bed, before I go to sleep, after I tell Tom I love him, I say, Infinite Source, I open to you and your healing forces this evening. As I sleep, I direct my body to call out to you as the healing energies flow and ask for the specific need that they have, whether it be in my back or in my heart or in my emotion. I charge you, my body, with the responsibility to ask specifically for what you need. And I ask you, God, to empower your healing angels or spirits or whomever you send to respond to that relationship. That's very specific. I probably couldn't say it again the same way right now. So I'm not telling you that's how you have to say it. I'm telling you, think before you go off to sleep. Because that's a time that our bodies heal themselves. You know, they tell you that all the time. Get enough rest so your body can heal yourself. Well, what do you think your body's healing yourself? First, because we have huge self-healing potential. Second, because that's when they can get to us. Our monkey minds aren't talking all night, or if they are, they're talking pretty quietly. And so the divine forces can move into our being and make a difference. So we have to leverage our sleep time. We have to ask that the energies flow into us and heal us very specifically. That does not mean you don't go to your acupuncturist, or you don't go to a healer, or you don't go to a doctor. You know, if you had a broken arm, I love Janet uses that analogy all the time. In fact, I think I'm going to pass her the mic and talk about the analogy of a broken arm and what happens to us.
And what happens when we do have a broken arm? We don't even think about it, do we? We get ourselves to the doctor. If we see somebody that has had a broken arm or recently broken, we take them to the hospital, and we get what on that broken arm?
A cast.
On that broken arm. And then we all write sick jokes and draw pretty pictures on the cast. And what that does, though, that message is every time I look, say Donnie has a broken arm, and every time I look at Donnie, what do I see?
Broken arm.
You see the cast. This is very powerful, my friends, because we are visual before we are verbal. Remember that. We are visual before we are verbal. So if you remember that you're going to see Donnie's broken arm, you're going to immediately tell a story that says, I've got to be gentle with Donnie because he's obviously done something to break his arm, so I'm going to bring him food, I'm going to make sure he gets through the doorway okay, I'm going to take care of him because I see the visual of the cast. And when we see the visual, as Mary was talking, she was creating a visual by which we can invoke spirit to attend to our casts, to attend to our brokenness, wherever it is, even though we might not know where it's at. We're invoking our body in relationship to spirit to say, put a cast on my broken heart. And often what I use this analogy to point out is that when we do have a broken heart, do we have any outer symbols?
No. We
No.
cry. Maybe we cry.
Maybe we cry, but then sometimes we can be further isolated, particularly in the workplace, or even in general society. Ours is not a society that tolerates you having a good cry in front of the grocery store, or at your desk, or at your cubicle. That's not something that's accepted. In some cultures it is. It's very amazing. In some African cultures, it's okay if you sit down at the side of the road and start crying. You'll get support. It's amazing. I mean, I've heard many stories about it happening. People just overcome with grief, and then people come and stand beside them.
Wow.
It's powerful. They don't even know the person, but they know that they're in a grief process, and they honor it. So, the cast on the broken arm, what it tells us is that we are attending to that injury. So we need to put, what police officers do is put a badge ribbon on their badge to indicate a line of duty death of an officer. What Black Lives Matter do is Ronnie last week came with a beautiful t-shirt. Black Lives Matter, I can't breathe. Very clear message. That's putting an outer symbol. Does that make sense? Saying, I am grieving this. I am grieving this, and it's visual. And when we connect with each other visually, because it's such a primitive way that we communicate with each other, we can offer each other support.
Let's talk about light. That's a visual that was a gift to us by the divine. Light. And so one of the things that we got when we were doing our Vespers talk was that what the God Source wants from us in this very difficult time is that we stand for the light. That we focus on bringing the light into ourselves. And once we're full, then we allow the light to go out into the community and out into the world. And there are things that you need to do in order to set time aside. It's hard to bring the light into the world while you're sleeping. It's very hard to sleep through the light. So, just that was a little joke. Very little, obviously.
We caught it the second time around.
Right. So we have to do this when we're awake. We have to consciously say we want to bring in the light. And what we have to do, and I got it in various ways, it's been a message-filled week, and I was so nervous that I'd bumble it up that, of course, I'm bumbling it up. But is that the light comes in, but they're not gonna give us a job that's too big for us to do. They don't expect us to, quote, fix the world. They say, just bring the light in. Bring the light into yourself. Let it spill out around you a little bit. And if everybody brings the light in and let it spill out around them a little bit, pretty soon there's more light than darkness in your community. And then if you keep working that way, there's more light than darkness in your country, please God, and then out into the world. But you are not responsible for making all of the light visual in the entire world at your first meditation. You are simply responsible. And we need to, responsible is such a tough word. My mother always made me responsible. I'm sure each one of you have experiences from growing up in which somebody said you were responsible for or should be responsible for or to. So I tend to avoid that word in my ongoing spiritual sharings. But we are responsible. We do have responsibility.
My mother always said responsibility is a very special word. It means you have the ability to respond. That's it.
Yay.
Yes.
That is beautiful.
Like your mother.
I hope that got on the thing because I'm going to write it down and steal it.
She did.
Repeat it.
Responsibility is the ability to respond.
And that's actually in the dictionary.
Yes.
That is in the dictionary, and that's the definition in the dictionary, and that's simply what the meaning of responsibility.
Wow. Have we loaded that up, huh?
Yeah.
But we
Our
are,
own perception.
just what we were talking about today is that particularly in this community, we have the ability to respond. We have an understanding of the power of light. We have an understanding of the fact that we're surrounded by love. We have an understanding that it's a lot better to love each other than kill each other, no matter what the NRA says. We don't have to respond with a gun. We can respond with a heart.
So true.
And if we do, I don't care if people have guns. I care if they have machine guns, but I don't care if they have a gun. I'm not disputing the Second Amendment. Don't report me. But we do need to leverage the gift that we have been given. The gift that we are connected to people whose hearts are full of light and love, that we are in a community that will support us if we try and make a change. So we have to try. We don't have to wear a sign and stand on the corner and shout as people go by, but we have to, in our heart first, in our energy next, and in what spills out around us, we have to use our ability to respond. Talk to us about standing in the light.
You did that with music sometimes too.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'm just reminded of, thinking about my life and the privilege I've had to be able to march with Martin Luther King when I was a little child, actually. I think I was like 11 or 12 years old. And he was here in Oakland, and we sang as we marched, and we created like a wall of healing light. And then Cesar Chavez, I had the privilege of marching with him por los campesinos, for the farm workers, and we again had chants, we had songs. And we made up songs sometimes right there,
Is that how you started?
That's how I started. That is exactly how I started. And it was so funny because VTA, I had a dear friend in VTA, and she was janitor, unions being squashed, and they were being treated terribly. And she said, would you stand on our line? And I said, sure. And so, I get there with my little tambourine, and they're all just sitting there quietly with their signs. And I'm going, well, shouldn't we be marching? Shouldn't we be, making a joyful noise? And it was really funny. So I said, let's make up a chant. And they said, what? I said, let's make up a chant, VTA, we get you there. VTA, with us will you share? And we just created this little, chant. It was a simple chant. And everyone's energy just moved up. Just moved on up because we were energizing through tone, through sound. Come to Sean's sound tone workshops. I mean, they're incredible healing. There are many people in this room that do use sound and healing. You know, Kat and, you know, Annie and the choir. You know, I mean, we do sound healing a lot. But when you mobilize the sound, the movement, and the light, and when we do it together in a circle, when we do it together in community, what happens? It exponentially increases our light. Because Mary and I were talking about this. We are an isolationist society in Anglo-American society. That's how we operate. We're expected to do everything by ourselves. That model does not work anymore, my friends. It doesn't work anymore. We can't do it alone. We can't meditate alone on our mountaintop and say our prayers and hope everything's going to be better. We have to come together in community. We have to voice our voices, and we have to bring our compassion both to ourselves and to each other. But when you imagine, you know, singing, so we had, hold to the light, hold to the light, open up your broken heart and hold to the light, hold to the light, hold to the light, open up your broken heart and hold to the light, stand in the light, stand in the light, open up your broken heart and stand in the light, hold to the light, oh yeah, hold to the light, open up your broken heart and hold to the light. We are the light, we are the light, open up your broken heart, 'cause we are the light, hold to the light, hold to the light, open up your broken heart and hold to the light.
You can do it.
So, this kind of turned into a rally. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. So I guess it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
We have to wrap it up because we have some really good things to follow us. But, no, you know, there was a lot more they gave us, so I guess I have to write it down and I'll put it in UCM's,
We have about 10 more minutes. Come on, you can say a lot in 10 minutes.
no, I don't wanna squeeze the other people. We have some people that are gonna do something that's important to them,
Yeah,
and I
that's
want
true.
them to have the time to do it.
That's true, okay.
And I know you have to pass the hat. And I think passing the hat's particularly important because, you know, they've had a rough time when Dottie isn't well, Dottie isn't working.
Yeah.
Hallelujah,
And
sister.
probably not hallelujah, probably oh. But, so I would just say to you, if you got a little extra shekel or two, you might want to drop it in the basket because that would help them to get through a rough time.
And we just want to share too that the way we build immunity to the depression, the pain, the anger, the sadness, is by doing some very simple things. Gathering together here on Sundays, gathering together at UCM when they have their events, coming together with like-minded people, resting. Give yourself time to rest. Take a break from the TV. Take a news diet, my friends. Take
Skip
a
the
news
news.
diet. Skip it. Skip it. Eat. Give yourself a treat, a food you enjoy that's also good for you. Drink plenty of water, breathe, and remember that you are enough. Just by your presence on the earth, you are enough. You are enough.
I just want to say, because there's so many people out there on social media, instead of getting caught up in the hate and the negative statements that are being made because people are angry and hurt over what's happening, give a loving message. And what I can constantly say is, Promote what you love instead of bashing what you hate, because it's much easier to build a life that is wonderful than it is to tear down something that you didn't create.
That's right.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. And the other thing they told me was, we won't give you something too big for you to do. So don't get, one of the things that we do, anybody does, is think, I can't go out there, that's a really big problem, and I don't have the answer. Well, you don't have to have the answer.
That's right.
You just have to be within yourself, and strengthen yourself with the light, and make love in your heart, and just let it drip out around you. It'll be enough. Everybody starts dripping, and pretty soon we got a river.
We all